So this is probably as bare as you will ever see at Calico Skies. As you can see, my buddy Demetrius and I, we broke down most of the gear. We still have the wind gen up, but the canvas is down, the davits are off, the solar panels are off. So we did that in preparation for building a new arch. It was really hard to figure out measurements and design it with all that sort of layers of stuff on top of each other. So we went ahead and broke the boat down, and now she's bare. So one of the main reasons we have to do something about our davit situation is the fact that we broke 2 of them, and we also developed a ton of flex in the solar panel, the big 600 array that we had up on the davits. It was just flexing like crazy, and we also sheared 2 of the mounting bolts to the plates back here.
Which I think we filmed.
We filmed. You saw us fix it in Puerto Vallarta, and then the second side broke, and we had to fix it in Barra de Navidad. Or actually it's vice versa, I can't remember, but they both broke. One of the other problems that I'm hoping to avoid with this new system is take all the load off of our transom and onto the deck level. You can see here we have some gel coat cracking from the flex in the hull. You see these lines?
Yeah.
So this part of the hull is not very thick. It's not built to take the loads that we're putting on it. You can hear here, it's much more solid. So it was developing flex. The starboard side is okay because there is a tank locker that's in there providing some structure. And I had actually gone ahead and glassed the stringer into the port side in Maine. You might remember that episode. But when the davit failed, we cracked that stringer off and then it started flexing again. So the new system, I don't want to touch the transom anymore. I want it to be all supported by the deck, which is much stronger.
Yeah, and just like so you guys know, we bought the boat in New York like 11 years ago when we lived there and cruised and worked as accountants, which maybe not everyone knows that, but when we bought the boat, like our whole goal with our davit system was to just make it look good. We weren't full-time cruising, and so we didn't design it with any of the needs that we have now.
The reason we have it set up the way we did is that there was a ball socket that would actually allow the davit arms to rotate in and out. So we were trying to protect the lines of the boat in order to make it look sleek and clean when we weren't using dinghies, which was just for trips. We were taking a dinghy, and typically we were just sailing normally. So they were rotating, and that's how it started. And then in Annapolis in 2019, we added a crossbar to help stabilize those 2 things because we were having a lot of movement with the dinghy. And then from there, we needed more solar, so we built higher. Yeah, so it kind of became this like franken-davits system.
We just built on an old system over time.
Yeah, so.
And that's why it like looked how it did, and that's why we had all of these weaknesses with it. So we're starting from scratch. Yeah,
and so some of the considerations, we are also due for new canvas right now, which is why the canvas is off the boat. The canvas was built back in 2014, I believe, which is actually a pretty long time, and it's been restitched twice now. The first time did not work with like New York style thread that UV just ate it apart. It got restitched in St. Martin, but now it's all starting to fail. The zippers are seized, there's a lot of UV damage, so we're starting with new canvas as well.
Yeah, we had it restitched in St. Martin right before our first transat, so that was like, what, 4 years ago?
Yeah, I think that was 2019 is when we crossed the Atlantic, so July of 2019. So yeah.
And it was at the end of its life at that point.
Yeah,
so.
And they said we had 1 more stitching in it if we were lucky. So that fabric needs to go. So that brings us to how we're looking to design this new structure. Ideally, we'd like to have a hard roof now instead of having a soft bimini, so that we could fit more solar. We have the 600-watt array that we had up on the davits when they were here. We're thinking make a solar panel roof in lieu of a bimini. And build a much stronger structure that is integrated on deck in 4 points and also is our davits. We also want to improve certain things like have the paddle boards on a shelf rather than like in between that triangle of the dinghy davits, which is really hard to use. And we want to be able to integrate the life raft mounts, and we want to put like lines, like fishing line holders. We want to be able to put like D-rings so we're not like ratchet strapping the dinghy to the blocks for the spinnaker.
So we have a big wish list.
So it's a big wish list.
So in terms of where we are right at this exact moment, we found a welder.
Yep.
And we're going to go up in size for our metal.
Everything on the boat was built out of 1-inch stainless, our davits and bimini. We talked to the welder. We're going to go to 1 1/4 stainless piping to build this new structure. I had thought in my mind about aluminum because it's a little bit lighter, but everyone is saying that stainless is stronger than aluminum, so we're better off going with that. I think the pipe thinness, I think that this is a thinner pipe for stainless as opposed to aluminum too, so we'll have a little more space, because one of the other things we want of this new system is just like a little more streamlined of a system, because we had so many pipes everywhere, like holding the bimini, holding the davits, everything is sort of bolted together and sort of messy. So we're hoping to have like one sort of integrated clean structure this time, hopefully a little bit thinner.
Aesthetics are important to us this time around.
So this is the old framework for the bimini. These are the old davits. You can see how high it went up in order for us to mount 600 watts. That was quite high up in order to fit back. So that's one of the other things we'd like to do, is make the whole thing lower, decrease our center of gravity, and also kind of move some of the weight forward if we can, like off the aft end. I mean, I'm not sure, it's still gonna be pretty far back for four sets of panels, but at least some of the weight will be bringing it lower down and further forward, so we don't get that hobby horsing motion.
Yeah.
So much room for activities now. Look how much more space we have, nothing in the way. This really helped in the design process, like seeing the space we're working with. Also, the wind generator pole is gonna have to come down because the solar panels are quite large. They'll go from the back stay out to about here, I believe, and about 6 feet this way. So this is going to come down to be mounted somewhere else. I think we're going to try to recycle the crane by putting a bigger bushing in to fit the new 1 1/4 pipe. So this is aluminum, but the bushing will isolate it from the stainless steel, so we won't have an electrolysis issue. So this still has to come down. The structure, so our old bimini, Bloom's going to come across.
Where'd your friend go?
So the old bimini went to about here. It's just underneath the boom, and there's actually wear marks from it scraping back and forth across it when we had the sail up. In certain configurations, like if I had the topping lift down or I had it really bang really hard on. So for the new structure of solar panels, I don't want the boom hitting the solar panels, obviously. So we're gonna move it aft to here. The new structure is gonna start right about here. So we're gonna have space for the boom, and it's gonna be, so we're gonna have 2 sets of solar panels, so 300, 300, and then 2 300s in the back. There's gonna be 4 mounts for the structure. One's gonna be here, one's gonna be here, and then somewhere on the deck up here. So initially, just to try to save cost, I considered doing this myself. We have a friend here who is a welder, so my initial plan was to build a wood mock-up of the structure I want, and then cut the pipe to that length of the wood, and then have the guy weld it, and then install it to the deck.
Yeah, and that started to deteriorate, that idea, when we found out this welder couldn't weld curves.
Yeah,
so he was only able to weld like 90-degree angles.
So it'd be very much a 90-degree rectangular shape. So we started kind of walking around a boatyard and seeing what we liked, what we didn't like, and it seemed like when it was so modular like that, it becomes a very industrial look, and that's not really what we wanted for the boat. I also think having some bends adds some strength to the structure, because it sort of like adds tension and it's trying to pop out, so you get that stability in the metal.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, the curve opens up a lot of possibilities, especially because we're trying to get the weight off the transom. We don't have very big footprint back here. It's only about, I don't know, 2 inches on the back of the boat, so we don't really have a lot of ability to mount anything in front of, like behind the stern rail. I had a tour meeting of the welders at the boatyard here, and they suggested that we use the mounting back here, which is kind of, this will be the primary support of 1 1/4 inch pipe, or maybe back here.
Thereby taking it off the transom.
But what we're gonna do is it's gonna go curved in, and then underneath the stern rail, and then up to form a davit. So that's not something I could do without having the bending ability. And also you can't bend straight pipe, you kind of can bend curve, you can only curve round pipe. So it's gonna go from the deck up and across.
I think this is similar to the rudder in that it's one of those things that we sort of might be able to hobble something together, but it's sort of ambiguous as to exactly how it comes out. And it's just so important because it's a strength thing, and the engineering that goes into considering your weight displacement.
Yeah, like,
and the actual physical creation of, you know, we have to procure our own metals, but actually welding that metal and constructing everything is...
Yeah, and these guys have like a lifetime of experience, whereas it'll be my first time doing it. They're budgeting like 80 to 90 hours, so it's gonna take them 90 hours, and I do this for a living. What's gonna be for me? 500?
Yeah.
So that's gonna be the structure. So it's gonna be gonna be some sort of like reinforced davit arm, well, similar shape to a davit, but going up and then out. So, and then the roof is gonna be, it's gonna be curved metal like this. So curved metal from this side, curved metal wherever they put the feet, wherever we're gonna put the feet here, like just after the winches. And then there's gonna be stringers going this way, stringers going this way, and they're gonna be longer sections, probably like 10 feet going back to hold all our solar panels and to lift our kayak and dinghy like we used to have. That's the plan.
It's exciting.
Yeah, so there's obviously a lot of detail we still have to consider, like where's the wind gen gonna go, where's the outboard crane gonna go, where we're gonna mount the new Starlink that's coming.
Exactly how many solar panels.
Exactly how many solar panels, what brand solar panels,
how big they are.
How big they are. So I don't know, I have some emails out to some potential sponsors to see if we get some like newer technology that are a bit smaller and more compact.
So TBD.
TBD, but that's the plan of that one. Hey guys.
Hi guys.
So you can tell we're not on Calico Skies.
Yeah, we are in our apartment, our little Airbnb that we rented.
Or casita, as they call them here in Mexico.
Yeah.
Which I think means apartment.
It's casita. We've actually never stayed in an apartment. Like we've always stayed on the boat when we did boat work, but yeah, now we have YouTube. So yeah, having Wi-Fi and yeah.
It's also been good to load stuff off the boat because we actually find ourselves in the midst of a fairly major refit, which was unplanned. But that refit required us to move a lot of items that were in storage and lockers to have access to our machinery space on a regular basis.
Yeah, this apartment is completely full. Our closet is full of chain and
lines and dive gear.
Yeah, and there's scuba gear next to us here on the floor. We're just completely full. There's like provisions that we have. I took a lot of food off the boat and it's here. So yeah, it's great.
What are we trying to tell them today? What are we trying to tell the camera today?
Okay, so we want to talk to you guys about plans and costs. So we'll start with the first one, which is a big one, costs. The cost of this mini refit that we've found ourselves in the midst of here. What we planned and what we didn't plan.
Yeah, so to back up, the initial thought of coming to the boatyard here was simply being, in quotations, to complete a bottom job. Calico Skies has not had her barrier coat redone since we've owned a boat in 2009, so we were sent a bunch of barrier coat materials and bottom paint materials way back about a year ago when we were still in Panama, actually, in Boca del Toro.
Yeah.
So Total Boat sent us a bunch of stuff, which is really cool. We've been sailing around with it for over a year.
They're the best guys, Total Boat.
Yeah, we love Total Boat.
We've been sailing around for a year.
But so we have that. So when we hauled the boat, we had the boatyard sandblast the hull to get it down to barrier coat. We noticed that we had a bunch of blisters.
We're in a great place being in a desert because they actually dry out, which is great. The reason we sailed around without paint for so long is because we thought we would be doing the work sooner, and then we just like kept not having time. We like thought we'd maybe do it
in Shelter Bay,
before we crossed the Panama Canal. We had all these like ideas, and then cruising life got in the way and we didn't do it. But it's great that we didn't do it, because if we had found all those blisters in a very humid place, it would have been a much longer process to dry them out.
Yes.
So
the next objective of our bottom job was that, or hauling out the boat, is we had noticed we had a pretty significant amount of play in our rudder. The bushing is just worn from years of sailing, and I think Calico's only been out of the water like 3 weeks in 7 years of cruising full time. Obviously she was out when we owned her previously a lot more. But so Calico Skies only been out of the water for 3 weeks and 7 years of full-time sailing.
When was that 3 weeks?
We did like 10 days in North Carolina.
Right,
in 2020, and then we did 2017 when I came back from Bermuda. We hauled the boat for about a week. But when we dropped the rudder, I cleaned up the shaft, and we found very significant pitting, so we had to order a new rudder.
Just to quickly clarify, it's not that we haven't done boat work in the last 7 years, we were specifically referring to haul out. So meaning the boat is out of the water. That has only happened for whatever Bill said, 4 weeks in 7 years. We have done boat work, which you guys know, you've seen our videos, we've done a lot of boat work.
Yeah, like in Appleton, that was down, that was a lot of work. Like there has been other periods of, I guess, refits.
The boat's always been in the water and we never got to the bottom. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because when we crossed the ocean last time, the Atlantic, those couple times, we had a lot of repair work. So over 7 years, we've done a lot of repair and installation of systems that we've upgraded as we've continued to cruise and not done like this 1 or 2 year thing we thought we were gonna do when we left New York. So we've added a heater, we've added a water maker, we've added the AC. So we've done like these installations of projects, and then we've done repair. So when we crossed the ocean, we like broke a bunch of stuff, we've broken stuff. So we have done a lot of boat work, just so we're clear. But in our minds, this is a very different type of boat work. The boat is hauled out, we're working on the bottom, and we're also, we're gonna talk about these things now, these improvements that we're gonna do.
So jumping into
those.
Yeah, so the numbers here are, I guess, are 90% really associated with like this new refit. There's a couple items that we'll give you that are more like repair type stuff, but so
refit costs.
Refit cost, yeah. So we are looking at, as it stands right now, $17,844 of parts and labor, a little bit of labor.
We used to be accountants in a past life, and all of our friends joke we're the worst accountants. Like, we knew it was going to be costly, but I don't think we knew it was going to be
844,
and that's the budget, which
could be more than that. I'm sure I'm missing. I'm not even including the little bits and bobs, and I'm not including this.
Just again, we're not like most of the channels that can like tell you to the penny what we spend.
I'm surprised I got the $44. That's kind of a good sign.
Yeah. How did you get?
I don't know.
How did you get that $44?
Stuff. First thing, we needed $260 of water maker parts because we've been drinking salty water for a little bit. There's something in our membranes that's letting salt water get by, so I have a whole bunch of O-rings and parts for that.
Yeah, I don't know if we filmed that really.
We've been battling it since the sand gloss. We're redoing our Dodger.
So this is the big thing that's adding a lot to our costs.
Yeah, we're building a hard top basically.
Don't worry, we're still gonna have a lot of stuff.
It's gonna be bigger. We're
still gonna have a lot of stuff on the back of Calico.
We were quoted labor on the arch for $2,800. They're saying it's about 85-90 hours of work. We had to buy stainless steel, 110 feet of stainless steel tubing. That's gonna be about $1,500. And we're also having our Dodger rebuilt. It's gonna be the same, we're keeping the same soft Dodger, we're not touching that, but the canvas is absolutely shot. It actually fell apart or ripped open when I was taking it off the boat. Yeah. We bought that in 2014, so it's just time for that. It's just UV degraded. And then we're also gonna do a new sail cover while we're at it because that is tearing in places too.
Whole shebang, metal, fabric, everything. Not the solar panels, but the whole arch davit system. I don't really know what to call it because it's kind of an arch. I guess, 6,000, but in the States,
20,000, 30,000. That's the great thing about this yard. It's sort of, you kind of get the
DIY.
It's a DIY yard, and you kind of get you get the skilled laborers for decent labor rates. Like I think the welding's $45 an hour is what they're quoting us. I think in the States it'd be like 100 plus easily for skilled labor like that. But then we're able to go pick up the pipe in Phoenix, whereas we had to like import stainless steel into Mexico would be more expensive and difficult. So the rudder, the rudder with shipping is going to be about $4,000. We got lucky. They had a mold of our rudder there in Florida, so we didn't have to go through the expense of shipping our rudder to him and having him take measurements, which cost money. We had new rudder bushes made for $500. Sabre was able to recreate those for us. So that's that. Okay, so now
the next category is bottom job. So everything associated with fixing our bottom.
The blisters are gonna wind up costing us $1,000 just in epoxies and fiberglass cloth and fairing compound. Because there's so many of them and some of them are deeper, I have to have like fiberglass cloth to fill the void, and then they have to be smooth and faired. But Total Boat is helping us with that, so that's really beneficial for us. We have barrier coat for $700. I had to get a Seacock maintenance kit to tear them all apart and clean them up. That's $80. We installed a prop cutter finally because we figure in the South Pacific there might be fishing nets, or in Asia.
So if you saw our main series,
that's $300.
Prop cutter.
We have $600 of bottom paint. We have $160 of prop speed for the propeller. And then the yard charged us $900 for sandblasting, which is pretty reasonable.
And there's also a cost associated with actually hauling the boat, which I'm not sure if we even put in here.
I did, yes.
We did.
That's yard fees, so leading into that.
How much does that cost?
The haul out costs $432 to go in and out.
Okay.
And then storage fees for 3 months will be about $1,000.
Great.
Actually more, it's more like 4 months. While the boat is out, we had to do some typical electronic work. Like our VHF fell apart, which is kind of annoying.
2 years old.
2 years old, well, maybe a little older, but.
Not naming any brand names.
You guys know the brand. But the cable, it's been inside the entire time, inside the boat, and the cable just casing came off and the wires were hanging out of the foil, and so we trashed that. We had to get a new VHF, which we need new RAM mics. They're not compatible, and we have wireless RAM mics, but our binnacle is jammed full of wires. I can't run another RAM mic through there. Anyway, but then also while the boat was out, we're finally installing our depth transducer permanently instead of using a wine glass, and we're also installing our forward scan while the boat's out. So we have 2 holes in the boat, and now 2 transducers are going in. That's a cost of $2,100 just for, you know, VHFs and sonar. We have to get like a networking device for the sonar hub, which is for the forward scan.
So this $17,844 that we have here really is kind of like more of the bigger things. You know, our list is quite long, and you'll see it in the videos. There's so many little things that we're doing, which will have costs associated with them. So this is kind of like
the big ticket items.
Yeah, one of the aesthetic things we want to work on is the cabinetry. We haven't really filmed this, but our sliders or wood sliders in the boat need some work. The tracks need some love. We're going to refinish our cockpit table. We have to work on our companionway doors.
Yep.
We have a problem with our head door.
We want to put a piece of cabinetry door for the second freezer. So a hinge for that. Just like little cosmetic things or functional things that will make our life easier woodwork wise. We're also waxing and buffing the hull.
We're gonna permanently mount the Starlink. That's gonna be part of the
arch.
And then, I mean, really, like the solar panels is a whole separate conversation in terms of cost and stuff. We don't have an answer yet, so we'll get into more details about that, but we just wanted to give you guys like a general kind of idea.
High level overview of it, yeah.
Our refit costs as we're looking at it this morning with coffee and realize this is really good stuff to share.
Yep, it's useful to people.
And we'll let you know as we go through with each project too, like how the budget compares to the actual costs.
Yeah, I think it'd be helpful for people.
I mean, boats take a lot of work, right? And a lot of work you spend just keeping the systems running, doing the maintenance, fixing things that break. So when you want to kind of upgrade, that's like a separate time investment, and that's just the reality of full-time cruising.
Yep, the Pacific is a whole other challenge just in terms of the remoteness.
And we want to keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
After the Pacific, it's not like we can just live in French Polynesia.
Like this is like our last opportunity really to get the boat refit before New Zealand.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to like the new Calico.
Yeah, plus I mean we'll be in the Sea Cortez anyway. It's gonna be a great place to spring.
Cockpit improvements, that's gonna be a big one.
We're doing the cushions in there. Yeah, we're just trying like all the little things that I mean I guess it's a great time to refit a boat. We've been sailing full time for 7 years on or so. I think we at least understand pretty well.
We're trying to pump ourselves up here because like really we just love to be on the water and cruising. We're not those people that like really love to do projects.
No, we're more sailors than boat refitters.
Yeah. So it's obviously a good feeling to do these things, and that's what I'm trying to emphasize to us. But yeah, truthfully, like we just want to be in the water, sailing all the time.
Yep.
I don't really like doing boat projects. I don't like editing boat projects, but we're in the spirit of realism. This is what we're really doing, and we know that a lot of you guys enjoy watching that stuff too. So that's a win all around. I think that's it.
Cool.
Time to get
going.
To work.
I gotta go to the boatyard.
It's late already. We missed the morning.